All right, so we've all been there, right? You ask a chatbot a question, you get a text answer back. Simple enough. But what if that AI could do more than just talk? I mean, what if it could actually book that flight for you, or crunch your sales data, or maybe even write and run its own code? Well, that's not science fiction anymore. That's the huge leap to what we call agentic AI. It's this massive shift from just passive conversation to active, real-world problem solving. So let's dive in and break down exactly how this is all happening.
So what is the real difference here? I mean, look at this. On the left, you've got that classic chatbot frustration. We've all seen it. It hits a wall, they can't get live info, so it just gives up. But then, on the right, something totally different happens. The AI agent doesn't get stuck. No, it reaches out, it connects to the real world, and boom, it comes back with an actual useful answer. And that right there, that's the core difference we're really going to unpack. The jump from a total dead end to a dynamic, working solution.
Okay, but before we get into the solution, to really get why this is such a breakthrough, we first have to understand the core problem, the fundamental limit that even the smartest AIs have been stuck with for a long, long time.
You know, you can think of a traditional large language model, an LLM, as this brilliant genius brain, but it's trapped inside a glass box. I mean, it is incredibly powerful, right? It can write a flawless email, a beautiful poem, a killer business plan. But here's the catch. It has no hands. It can't actually send the email. It can't check a live stock price. It has no way to interact with the world outside that box. It's just a generator, not an actor.
So, the big question is, how do you get that brilliant brain out of the glass box? Well, the solution is actually pretty simple, almost intuitive. You give it a toolbox. You give it a set of hands so it can finally interact with the world.
And this leads us right to the key idea that makes all of this work. It's called tool use. And honestly, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. We're giving the AI the ability to reach outside its own code to use external systems. Think of things like an API to grab live data, or a hook into a database, or even a code interpreter to do some heavy-duty math.
And when you give an AI these tools, you're not just upgrading it. You are fundamentally changing what it is. It stops being just a fancy text-generating machine, and it becomes a doer, an action taker. Something that can actually have a real impact out there in the digital world.
So what kind of tools are we talking about here? What's actually in this toolbox? Well, an agent could make an API call to get that live weather data, just like in our first example. Or it could execute some Python code to do data analysis for you on the fly. It could dive into your company's database to look up a customer's info. Or, hey, even just go out and browse a website for you. The possibilities here, they're absolutely massive. Okay, I get it. This all sounds incredibly powerful, maybe a little bit like magic. But how does it actually work? You know, under the hood. How does a language model, which is all about words, suddenly learn how to use a tool? Let's take a look at the agent's playbook.
The secret sauce, the magic ingredient here, is something called function calling. And you can basically think of it like a universal translator that sits between the AI's brain and the tool it wants to use. It's this super structured, predictable way for the AI to basically say, hey, weather tool, I need you to do this one specific thing for me.
Now, don't get scared off by the code. You don't need to be a programmer to get this. The idea is really simple. This is what one of those function calls looks like. It's just a clean, simple command. The AI specifies the name of the tool it needs, in this case, get weather, and then it provides the arguments, which is just the info the tool needs to work. Here, that's the city, Mumbai. That's it.
So let's walk through the agent's actual workflow here. It all kicks off with your request, right? But the agent doesn't just spit back an answer. First, it reasons. It has this internal thought process, right? To answer this, what I already know isn't enough. I'm going to need an external tool. That's the trigger. So it calls the right tool, it gets the data back, we call that the observation, and only then does it put together the final complete answer for you. It's this continuous loop, reason, then act.
All right, so that's the theory behind it. Now let's get to the fun part and see how all this power actually translates into solving real-world problems.
Let's take something like data analysis. A normal chatbot, it could probably tell you the definition of return on investment, right? But an agent can take your actual numbers, run a little bit of Python code, and calculate the ROI for you. For anyone in business, this is an absolute game changer. And we can see that whole reason-act loop right here. First, the thought. It understands exactly what you're asking for. Then, the action. It identifies the perfect tool for the job, this calculate ROI function, and calls it with your numbers. Then comes the observation. It sees the result that comes back from the tool. And only then does it give you that final clear answer. See? It's not just shuffling text around, it's performing a real, valuable calculation.
And this is why this is such a big deal. We're moving past just simple explanation and into the world of genuine analysis and action. The AI isn't just a super smart librarian anymore, finding information for you. It's becoming more like a junior analyst that can actually process that information for you.
But of course, as soon as you give an AI the power to take action in the real world, a giant question pops up. Is this safe? And the answer has to be that safety isn't an afterthought. It has to be baked in from the very beginning. This means building in smart guardrails, right? Things like blocking harmful requests before they even happen, having super strict permissions, putting limits on things so you don't get infinite loops, and of course, logging everything for security.
So when you put all of this power and safety together, what you really get is a whole new category of digital worker. Think about it. In finance, an AI could automatically rebalance your portfolio based on live market data. In the legal world, it could tear through a 100-page contract and flag all the risks in just a few minutes. In HR, it could sift through thousands of resumes, find the top 5 candidates, and then go ahead and schedule their interviews. And the craziest part? This isn't some far-off sci-fi dream. This is literally what's being built as we speak.
So when you start to imagine AIs that can do all of this in basically every single industry, well, it forces us to step back and ask a much, much bigger question. What on earth does this mean for the future of work?
And really, here's the most important thing to take away from all this. We have to stop thinking about these agents as just better assistants or a fancier version of a chatbot. They are quickly evolving into something else entirely. Our first true digital knowledge workers. They're becoming capable of handling complex, multi-step jobs that, until now, you absolutely needed a human for.
When you get right down to it, the whole thing can be summed up by this one simple but really powerful idea. An AI without tool use is just a chatbot. It's that ability to act that makes all the difference.
And that brings us to a really fascinating final thought. As these agents get more and more capable, they're going to feel less like tools that we just operate and a lot more like colleagues that we actually collaborate with, which leaves all of us with one final, very big question to think about. Are we ready for a world full of digital coworkers?